Okay. So first of all, ma'am, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the session on Thoughts on Education by Collegedunia.com. Before starting, ma'am, we would like to know about your professional journey till now. So you have a very rich experience in the education field. I just want to know, like, what are the key factors that keep you so much connected with the education sector?
To start with, I'm a student. I've done my graduation in pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist by profession. I've done my post-graduation in pharmacy and my doctoral science in pharmaceutical sciences. So all through, I have been educated in a professional line. I started my career when I was doing my PhD as an assistant professor. So there started my career as a teacher and was associated to education field at that point in time when I was doing my PhD. When I finished my PhD, a thought came to my mind because my family has a lot of teachers. My mom is a teacher, and I felt that that would be the best career for me. And that's where I started doing my PhD, finished my PhD, and I joined NMIMS when NMIMS thought about having a domain of pharmacy being opened other than the management stream. So right from the inception, I got the opportunity to be along with NMIMS team to be university. And there is where I progressed from an associate professor to a professor and an associate dean. So all along my 20 years, I have been associated to education field. And that's where I feel is a good connect because you're with students, you're learning every day. And for the last 6 years, I have been working as a registrar of an education institution. It's a university. So again, connected to the education fraternity. That's where my journey is. And going into the leadership and the key positions that I have held, it came along and all the opportunities were converted. All the opportunities were converted to my advantage. Where it was a new school, we had to be looking into a lot of key aspects, and that's where we were exposed to all the statutory bodies with respect to pharmacy, and that's where my turn towards leadership started. Where I was I had to be looking into the education as well as my lectures, as well as my administrative roles. And that's where I learned a lot and taking care of the statutory compliances. So when I was doing so as an associate dean in the School of Pharmacy for around 8 years, I was picked up by the same university from the school to the university to lead the administrative position as a registrar. And currently I am the registrar of the university.
That's so great to hear, ma'am. Like you have had a very long journey, not like with NMIMS, and you just like you mentioned, you have held so many key positions at one particular college. Now, like to the follow-up question to that, like I want to know, like what is your philosophy of leadership? Like you mentioned, you have held so many positions, and the leadership has developed in you with time. How would you describe your leadership style?
In fact, everybody has their own way of working and having the things getting done. But what I believe is in distributive leadership is what I really and truly believe. Because right from the beginning, when I had a team to be working with, the teamwork really made a lot of difference. And giving importance to every individual in a team makes a lot of difference in the output that you really achieve. So rather than having it being done and strategized, of course, by the leader, but when it comes to leadership, I think what worked out the best for me is the leadership to work as a distributive leadership as a quality, where any kind of constraint that is there, a concern that was posed in front of us, worked very easily because of this distributive leadership. And one major aspect in this particular was the participation of every individual and the importance felt in any of the work that we do. by every individual really worked wonders, where things where we really felt was impossible started getting done in a very amicable manner and in a very peaceful manner. The pleasure of having importance given to everybody really makes a lot of difference. And so I do believe that I have been successful because of the philosophy of a distributive leadership. Or probably you asked me the style of your leadership would be defined as a distributive leadership is what I can say.
That really, seems to be very unique, like, a distributive style of leadership. A follow-up question to that, like, what do you think your roles and responsibilities of the university and the students are? Like, how do you manage the entire team of the faculties and students at the university, considering your leadership style?
To be very brief, first let me brief you about the key responsibilities that I hold. It's right from the admissions, where we have around 16 different domains, which we call it as different schools. We have 7 campuses, pan-India. So the admissions across the full university, across all programs and schools happen centrally because we are the deemed to be university. So that's a major responsibility that I hold is admissions. The next is academics, because after the students get into the university is what the implementation of whatever we have promised to the students need to be done. So academics is a very crucial department of the university. So academics is another major forte that is controlled and taken care by the registrar's office. The compliances and the statutory requirements, because what is present at our place, that's in India, is every professional body has a control over different programs. What I mean is the pharmacy is controlled by the Pharmacy Council of India. The Council of Architecture takes care of the architecture programs. The Bar Council takes care of the law programs, and AICT takes care of predominantly the engineering and the management programs. So every year we have to satisfy these statutory bodies. So the statutory compliances, and of course the rankings and accreditation also gets into our domain. The other major forte and responsibility that I hold is it's in charge of all the non-teaching staff of the university. So any issues, day-to-day problems, the administrative issues, and if I have to define, cutting it short in one line, the registrar as per the UGC is defined as the custodian of the university. So the person who can be sued and who is to be sued, and who can also sue the other people. So the registrar becomes the key person who is responsible for anything that is implemented in the university. So having said briefly about the responsibilities that I hold, I just mentioned that decentralization and leadership that is distributed in the university, as we have all the deputy registrars heading each of the departments. So we have towards a period of 5-6 years that I am here now holding this position, we have framed a process wherein we meet very frequently, and this frequent meetings is not very lengthy process. It's only in the mornings where we discuss about the agenda for the day, and if there is any kind of a troubleshooting that is required, then probably during the day is what I enter into their domain or interfere in their work. Otherwise, after having the instructions and the discussions done, my deputy registrars are very good and very responsible enough of holding their own departmental work. And of course, towards the end of the day, they do have a reporting system where I get to understand what is happening at every campus, at every school, and at the university itself. So majorly, if I have to define how do we have such a big empire, if you could say, having run that way, is the keyword is decentralization and the trust on our employees and my deputy registrars, who are all my working hands for me. So even during this pandemic, in fact, I'm sorry I could get into 5 minutes late because we were just finishing the admission meeting, and we thought that we'll finish off the duty for the day for admissions and then get into this stuff. And that's how it is.
Sure, ma'am. That's not an issue at all. But, like hearing all of this, I understood that you hold so many responsibilities that I cannot even count now. Also, like you mentioned, like there are like so many campuses across the nation. And would you like to throw some light on the curriculum of all the universities, all the colleges that comes under NMIMS University? Yeah. And how does it ensure the best practice of industry at Wholesome?
Sure. I mean, I would love to actually elaborate on this, is because the ethos of NMIMS stands on the kind of education that it provides to the students, where we really have an edge over the other universities and other colleges. So I would like to say that the process of academic and curriculum development is very robust in NMIMS deemed to be university. Every school has its own board of studies, and when this board of studies is being held in every school for every program, which is generally held at least twice a year, there is a lot of in-depth deliberation, and in this they also discuss, because a 360 degrees feedback from all stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, we have a very robust procedure for collecting feedback from the students, from the existing students, from the alumni, and from our recruiters. This is done in a very systematic manner, and every year that this feedback is taken from all the stakeholders, and these feedback is discussed in the board of studies in every school for every program. And all the suggestions are further brought into our academic council and endorsed by the board of management. That's a regular process. But my emphasis would be that the curriculum is brought in wherein the industry professionals, in most of our courses, at least 5% of the courses are taught by the industry professionals. They are a part of curriculum development, where they really put in their efforts, not only in the board of studies. We have something called as DAB, Department Academic Advisory Committee. So every department has someone from the industry and from other national schools of repute, where they deliberate about the topics that are being dealt in their subject. And if there is anything like obsolescence, they just remove it and they add the new ones. And so the curriculum becomes abreast with what the corporate requires. And to add on, we really believe in experiential learning. So every program that is run in the university has a feature of experiential learning in terms of either field projects, or in terms of industry visits, or in terms of projects that students need to take up within their duration of the profession. So all these components actually make the student industry ready. And over and above, we have a feature of having very regular guest lectures. Why do we have these guest lectures, and how do we decide who's going to be the guest lectures? Because everything cannot be pumped into the curriculum. So anything that is happening today in the industry could easily be brought into, and the perspective of why is this required by the industry can easily be got into by an industry professional person by a guest lecture. Just to give you a simple example, we were among the very first universities who felt that even for a simple BCom program, simple BCom honors program, not only the student should be looking into more of quantitative techniques and more into finance, we felt that we will also give them something a little more, what he would never get in any of the universities. And we started something like this around 5 years back. And what was this? This was something in big data. We felt that until this big data analysis and so much of what is being spoken by everybody today, We started it around 5 years back, and then felt that the students were not taking so much interest because it was over and above as an add-on program. So what the university did is we imbibed it within the curriculum. And really speaking, even a BCom student or a BSc economics student or even an MBA graduate or an engineer or even a BSc student today is picked up by an industry because these skills, the skills are there within the child and they don't need to train the child in these things. So that's where we felt that this is something, the curriculum is the heart of any of the program. And development is not only the only thing that you need to do, the actual implementation and governance of this curriculum that we have developed should be a key thing. And that's something that we really look into very seriously. And even in this pandemic, from last March till date, our schools, I'm proud to say our schools have had all their board of studies, and we have been holding our academic councils virtually, and there's no deferment of any of these even during these difficult times. So I'm really proud of my curriculum and the kind of development that we do at NMIMS.
That's great to hear, ma'am. Actually, now I have two follow-up questions to that. First you said, after hearing the example of BCom students, it seems like NMIMS is already ahead of its time. They are preparing students like way ahead than as compared to the other colleges, right? But when we speak of students, could you give some insights into how your university could be more welcoming to the students of different races or economic backgrounds, since students are the big part of the university and there are so many things happening around the world, around the nation right now. So could you just throw some light on that? And my other question is regarding to COVID, but we can get it back to it later. Yeah.
Sure. First and foremost, yes, we are a self-financed university. We are absolutely not getting any grant or any kind of an aid from any government organizations or any other private organization. So we are definitely a self-financed university. But saying so, it doesn't deprive any good student from seeking admission at the university. I would explain it a little further because we have a very stringent admission criteria, either for our undergraduate students or for our postgraduate students. So for our postgraduate students, I would like to start first because it's a flagship program and we thrive and we are today known to be a university. A very reputed university is because of our management program. So coming to a management program, it's an average around 50 to 60,000 students appear for our exams. And after the exams, after the selection process, if the student is really very needy and cannot get into because of the fees that the child needs to be paying at the university, the Alumni Association of the university for the management, it is registered as a company under the Companies Act. So they in fact fund at least 2 students paying the whole full fees. But they have their own screening process. But it is not at the way and will or the wish of the students. It would be only after the eligibility criteria, where the student has cleared the exam. So there is no compromise with the entry point with respect to the entrance exam. If the entrance exam has been cleared, then the students have to case basis apply for it. Apply for a scholarship. And we also look into that if at all this time the student is not able to pay because of the financial constraints that the student has, the student does apply at the school for paying the fees in installments. The student is given an opportunity to pay the fees in installments. But it is not a generic rule. It is, of course, looked into because I again would like to specify it's a private self-financed university and we are amongst the very few universities which maintain a teacher-student ratio which is well within the ratio which the statutory body wants, so that the quality of education can be good and every individual in the institution is paid not only as per scales, much beyond the scales for a teacher. So to maintain those standards, there can be no compromise. But there are ways and means where we can make a needy student and a deserving student look into different schemes which are available. There's one department. There's one department in the registrar's office which also deals with the various scholarships that are available by the government, and guides the students and facilitates through the university to avail that kind of scholarship, and the child gets such scholarships and goes ahead with the studies. Excluding all this, there are private trusts. For example, some Jain Samiti, Birla Trust, Tata Trust. All these trusts also give a lot of aid to the students. And what we do is we facilitate the process for the students to all these trusts, and try and seek help wherever the child is deserving. Apart from all this, we also have, in fact, a few of the cases where during the course of the study, there's some very heartbreaking things that happen in the house of the child, loses his father, cannot be going ahead, it's total responsibility. So we do look into such financial constraints, and there are cases where the fees have been waived off, or maybe the 50% concession is given wherever, depending on case-to-case basis. But of course, the management has a separate committee where such applications are processed. So putting it into a nutshell, there are different ways and means scholarships can be availed. May it be institutional scholarship, or may it be the other scholarships given by the government, or maybe the scholarships given by private trust, or the scholarships given by the alumni association of the university of the different programs. So, but it is not again a generic rule. The student needs to be a deserving student. The student needs to have the eligibility criteria to get into any of the programs at the university. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, definitely. So it wasn't in depth. Like I understood, there's just not one way, but there are so many ways a student could avail help whenever there's a need, right? Yes. So coming back to the thing that you have mentioned that you're so proud about for the faculties and your management, how they have handled the COVID situation currently. The disruption have been happening around the corner, and it's not just one field, but if we talk about the education field in particular, it has been shifted totally online. How challenging was it for you to ensure the best for your students, and how the learning for the students has changed because of the same?
It's not only the learning for the students, it's also learning for the teachers. I'll come to that.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, I still remember March 22nd was the date last year where we were totally asked to shut down, and it was totally unprecedented. And we did have a lot of technology which is imbibed in the system. And it's not only during these COVID days, but we really used to have the blending learning right from the beginning, where students were used to some extent, having done a few topics probably online, and they used to have many of these different platforms being used in their regular study. But this was a different issue, because we totally got the class-to-class teaching to the virtual teaching. So what we did was, we first initially changed a little bit of the timetable, because we were in March. The post-graduation students were coming to an end, but of course, the undergraduate student, especially engineering and other technology programs, the April end and the May first week was the last instructional day. So we did have, almost a month and a half for the regular academics to finish. So what we did was, the teachers who were really technologically very savvy, first those teachers started having the sessions started online. First and foremost, we went into having procured all the Zoom licenses, and we any which way have the Microsoft Office licensed ones in the university. So every student was given an access to a license where the Teams could be used in a very effective manner. Microsoft Teams. Because a Zoom license, yes, we procured it as many licenses as the teachers wanted. So these are two major platforms that we were using, the Zoom as well as the Microsoft Teams. Then what we did was, one full week or 10 days, we had various sessions given by these professionals to our faculty members. How do you use it effectively? Because what happens is, in Zoom or in Microsoft Teams, the teacher is teaching, and it's unlike in the class, you're not looking into the students and you really do not know whether the students have understood. It's only one way that you've been teaching, and you really do not know how effective has been your teaching. So in fact, the online teaching, to make it more effective and more interesting even for students, we had a series of faculty development and training programs. If I recollect, it was almost around 18 programs that we did for different sessions for all our teachers across the university. And this is where teachers really gained in confidence and started using the breakout rooms and started having the proctoring being done and identifying students who have just kept it on and are not there itself, because postgraduate students are pretty focused, but the undergraduate students are students ultimately. So, you need to bring them to an interesting way where they are really going to be concerned. We did have some difficulty because it was not easy for us to have access given to all the teachers as well. Now, teachers who are here, many of them do have laptops, do have desktops at home, but not all of them. So, the university really had to some way look into the transportation of all the systems to the residences and see to it that our teachers are comfortable first, because it's not easy working from home. It's really more difficult working from home. So we first made our faculty members very comfortable, and slowly, since it was the fag end of the last academic year, we could manage completing the academics and finishing it. But the major challenge that we faced was for the examinations. The examinations had to be held, and we believed that when everything was going on virtually, and we really foreseed that this is not going to finish in a very early way, and it's going to extend, and the impact of it any which ways are going to be for at least a year, is what we thought in last May. So we felt we together, in fact, have a group who meet every day, even today at 10 o'clock, where we have mentors from the management, our Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, and me and my controller. We have a group which is called as Academic Continuity Plan Group. Every day we have been meeting for 1 hour at least, where we discuss and deliberate, because each of us have, our own strengths. That's where I said distributive leadership. Each of us put in, whether it's a Vice Chancellor, sir, or whether it's a mentor or the trustee with us, or our Pro Vice Chancellor, everybody and a controller got into so many ways and means, and we did have all our exams conducted in Microsoft Teams. And I learned that actually, when you observe it as a classroom, you can watch 60 students giving the exams. So we took the help of our staff members, we got it proctored, and some of the exams we gave it to an agency for conducting the exam. Few of our undergraduate programs, we did have some issues there, but later on we felt that it is better we conduct it in-house, and the in-house staff is much more reliable than the outside agency, and that's how we went in for it. But believe me, there was a tremendous support from the management in providing us all the facilities. When I say all the facilities, it was right from the whiteboard to the extra licenses, and these licenses being available for 300 students, for 500 students, time not being a limitation, and the training programs as much as they wanted. And there was a major constraint because our students were going in for internship. So my placement department really faced this challenge, where the students were almost everybody was placed, and they were just finishing, waiting for them to finish their exams and join their internships or their project work at the industry, such students really faced an issue. And my placement department with our director, who's so efficient, managed everything within a month and a half to have either alternative looked into in the same company as a virtual internship, or probably change the companies, and we really reached the level of 100%, getting all the students settled down comfortably in their internship and project work and having it done virtually. Since we did that last year, this year, in fact, we think it's become a little bit of routine and we're following the same. And that's how we did it.
That's so nice to hear, ma'am. Actually, like if I say in terms of, how the current generation says, all the planning, the resources, the execution, it seems at a very pro level. And, and that resulted in a very smooth functioning of your university. That's great to hear. Yeah, so my next question to you is, there has been so much disruption happening around us. It's just not about the current scenario, if we talk about the virus, but in terms of different technology, the science, and all our surroundings, everything is happening new. What, according to you, should be universities' top priority over the next 10 years, if you think of the future?
First and foremost is safety of all. Because, we've never been looking into these aspects of social distancing. It never existed in our dictionary, especially in the Indian scenario, where we're so used to having the classes together, the crowd and some gatherings. We never thought of having any kind of social distancing. And now I feel for the next 2-3 years, whatever we're going to be doing in terms of events with students, in events within the university, we're going to be looking into some aspect of safety. When I say safety, you really need to see that how can you be really safe when you have some large gatherings. Because I have seen many of my students, my staff and my faculty really fighting, battling for life, and we've really lost many of them. It's very sad to hear, and especially I feel very bad because every morning, every day when I get some news this way, it has to go from my desk to everybody, informing everybody. So it's really very disheartening. So I believe that first and foremost, for the next few years, safety is the first thing. Whether you need to be vaccinated, there's a controversial question everybody asks, even for a small fever or a flu, do you want to get vaccinated? I say, please don't put your mind into it. There are scientists who say if there is a vaccine, gives you even slightest protection. I feel all my students, faculty and staff needs to be vaccinated. If the vaccine is going to be effective for a year, I would say that I would see to it, it's my responsibility at the university to see everybody gets vaccinated frequently till the time it is really very safe. That's the first and foremost. The second thing that we feel is, as we had a paradigm shift from day-to-day classroom to the virtual classroom, I feel that although we had a blended learning into the system, it was not sufficient enough. So at least around 25 to 30% of the regular curriculum should be mandatory as a online to be completed on an online platform. So what happens is students also do not lose touch, faculty doesn't lose touch in getting this online virtual learning making it more effective. We've taken a lot of trouble and a lot of resources have been pumped in to make this system. And believe me, telling so becomes very easy, but there have been a lot of people, right, from my IT department to my procurement department to my faculty colleagues and to my students to get used to this kind of a system and to have such a smooth sailing academic session all through this pandemic. So the second thing that I would stress upon as a university would be having at least around 30% of the curriculum even once we open face-to-face, to be continued as an online platform for students to learn and to give their exams for those particular courses online. The third thing that I feel most important is this generation becomes more carefree than our generation. So the effect of family, relations, everything, or ethics, we all teach that in the university through different subjects and different courses. I think COVID, this pandemic has taught us the hard way. We've got to understand that respect each other and enjoy life, live life till the time you live life. You never know what happens. It's so uncertain. So I think the nature and the environment at the university, where we were trying to create certain platforms for students to have such qualities imbibed in them, I think should be more stronger next, so that they don't forget what has happened and be much prepared emotionally. Because most of our students, in fact, my psychologists during these times had to do more duty, because there were many students who approached them saying that they were feeling depressed, they were feeling so stressed, they're not able to cope with anything. In fact, they did enjoy their online classes, but they never felt like doing anything because they felt the environment becomes depressing and they felt that they're going to die. So what I felt was emotionally this generation is not very strong. The factor may be because every nuclear family has a child or two maximum, and so the parents have been giving the children all what they want on a platter. They've never seen hard life. So emotional breakdown was maximum amongst my students during these times. Thanks to my psychology department and my counselors who did a wonderful job. But I feel making my students emotionally strong, stable, and making them so strong that such unprecedented times they could be volunteering themselves to help others should be the prime responsibility of any university. Rest, the courses, the programs, everything would be on and on, because there are many students who lost their jobs, who were just placed. There are many students who felt that placement would be to a certain extent was not up to their own satisfaction. So all this is a setback in terms of them, but we need to really make this generation understand priority of life is first live life and then the rest will follow. So I think the value system, which has taught us many things during these difficult times, needs to be continued to be taught to students even when we settle down after COVID times, so that the next few generations that are going to be coming should be emotionally as a strong person, and because they're the youth of tomorrow. They're going to be the people who are going to hold the responsibility of the nation. So I feel they should be more strong. Rest, all the academics will follow because of their hard work. But the mind to be strong and to be a good person, that's most important, which I feel the university has a very huge responsibility in ensuring them and in making them understand that what is more important, prioritize things in life. That's what
I totally agree, ma'am. And it all makes sense to make students more emotionally strong, because the situation that's going to come in the future, it's very uncertain. Nobody knows about it. And it all makes totally sense to me. Like you have covered almost everything. But if you want to point out a few of the biggest challenges that you see, both for the higher education and in general for the NMIMS university specifically, what could that be?
The biggest challenge that I felt was the regulatory framework that we have, because I feel when the whole nation was struggling for the admissions being done and not getting students to fill into their programs, there were certain rules and regulations which came into existence which really made our progress stop. And in fact, it really troubled us, because we did our job very transparently and very efficiently We really finished everything. Of course, we were a month late, but we weren't 7 months or 8 months late. So we started our academics a month late, but we finishing our academics right on time as per the academic calendar. But because of certain rules and regulations that came up, we really had to answer n number of parents and n number of students. And this, in fact, was a deterrent to the progress of the university during these difficult times. So I felt that the universities which are able to cope with the difficult times, have their admissions done, have their processes being transparent, and they're doing it according to the rules. They should be let to do all these, and not to stop the universities which are at least progressive. Otherwise, there's no point in we being more progressive. That's one. The second most big challenge was we have 60 to 70% of the students who are from other states. So who don't stay in Mumbai or in the places where our campuses are. So what the students felt, the community of students are probably, they echoed their parents, is that the infrastructure not being used, the hostels not being used, academics being very simple. But I feel we should also understand that the faculty is there. I run a faculty strength of almost 1,200 faculty, 2,000 staff. So all these people who are there can't be removed just because there is no academics going on. And if I need to stand as a good university, I need to be continuing the same way as I did even when there was no COVID time. And also understand that the child's future has not been jeopardized. We have looked into every smallest factor that would affect the child's progress, and we have taken care of it. May it be the regular curriculum, may it be the classes going on, may it be the internship, may it be the placements, final placements. So when all these things have been taken care of, they shouldn't be talking like a banya ka dukan ki humko 50% kam kar do, humko 2% kam kar do. Because I understand financial constraints, everybody is going through an emotional breakdown and financial constraints are going to be there. But to run a university is not very easy when we are running it yourself. This is the tuition fees of students is the only support that is there where I can sustain all my other expenses, and it's really not easy. I'm sure when the kids get into those positions and probably 10 years down the line, they might feel it was wrong on their part to be very mean and be petty, to be argumentative and not be in line at some times. But I feel these are few things, but which really have posed a big challenge, because if the university has to continue functioning, I need to have support of my students, my staff, and everybody put together with the biggest support of my management. Otherwise, this would not run in the way that it is running today. So that is a big challenge, balancing everybody, because everybody's patience and threshold has, I think, come to a standstill, or they have lost their patience. So developing that patience to keep others calm and maintain balance between the students, the faculty, the staff has posed a real big challenge to us. Given a chance, I feel I should be thanking Almighty to give all of us a very good support system and courage, which way we are doing it so far.
True, ma'am. Definitely. So, this brings us to the end of the session. But before closing, if you have any suggestion you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students who are gonna get admitted to your university, or in general who are gonna spend some time in their education. So any suggestions to
I have only two things that I would like to tell this youth. One, when you work and when you do something, do it with passion. Passion and the sincerity always is lacking in this generation. They probably feel they're made to do it. But I believe what I have been getting is because of the passion and the commitment that we show to any smallest thing that we do. When I say passion and commitment, probably the output is different. So this youth should have passion in whatever they do and commitment in whatever they're doing. I'm sure if they have these two things in mind, success will definitely follow. And the second thing that these difficult times have taught is life is very uncertain. Be ready to face the challenge. Take things as they come in. Please don't assume things and don't be negative. Positivity is the only thing that's not going to be changing. So if the spirit of positivity is within my students, I'm sure they'll be able to swim through any difficult times that they need to face at any given point of time in their lives.
That's so great to hear, ma'am. In fact, positivity is not something that's going to go away. That's my takeaway from this interview for sure.
Yes.
So that's it, ma'am. It was great to have you on board with us on this program, and we had a great time.
It was really a pleasure speaking to you, Dimple.
Thank you.
It was really a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.